Hey girl, are your healthy habits all over the place or non-existent? Do you wish you could find true food freedom, move your body for joy, and really just talk a little nicer to yourself? If you have tried to habit hack your health, but the strategies you've tried just haven't worked for you in your busy lifestyle, then this podcast is for you. Hey, I'm Emily Nichols, habit and fitness coach, behavior change specialist, and Taco Tuesday enthusiast. Hey, I'm here to tell you there is an easier way than what we've been taught about our health and our habits. How do I know? Well, because I've transformed my own life through habit hacking, and now my family gets the best of me, and I now help my clients do the same. I'm now going to teach you how to create healthy habits in less time, guilt-free for all seasons of your life. It's not your fault your habits haven't worked, my friend. We just have to do them differently. So, are you ready to feel empowered and transform your habits and life? Then let's do this. Hello, my beautiful friend. Welcome to Habit Hack Thursday. Oh my goodness. I wasn't sure if I was going to get this episode out in time, to tell you the truth. I have been battling some laryngitis. Like, my voice went bye-bye over the past week, and it's been really difficult to coach classes. I had to reschedule a couple of calls I had with folks, and I've just been praying my voice would come back. When you talk for a living, as far as like coaching, podcasting goes, I rely on this voice a lot. So it's just a good reminder to take care of ourselves this time of year. My husband said I probably am talking too much, but what does he know? So excuse my voice if it does go in and out a little bit. This is way better than it was last week. So how are you doing? How are you? I know this time of year can get a little hectic, and I want to keep these episodes short. You're going to notice over the next few weeks, they are going to be re-airs of the top 3 episodes of 2023. I love doing this research every year, and I just thought I should just re-air them because these topics are so good. They're so relatable for anybody, no matter where you are at in your habit hacking journey. I can't wait for you to hear them. Now, this past Monday, I talked about why I'm no longer a Whole30 coach, and I did receive the sweetest message from Melissa Urban, the co-founder of the Whole30, which I really appreciated. So go back and listen to that episode. I think it's really just me speaking from my heart and being vulnerable as far as like what the Whole30 has been in my life as a tool, as a transformation, and how I've evolved in my way of thinking about it over the years as well. Now, the Whole30 has taught me a lot of different concepts that I now teach in my coaching practice as far as food freedom goes. And one of those concepts is worth it foods. And I thought this was really a good time of year to talk about it with the holiday season, but also any time of year. So no matter when you are listening to it, the concept of worth it foods is something that we actually chat about in my signature program, the Healthy Habits Accelerator pod course. The worth it foods concept was something that I learned and still apply to my life now after reading the book Food Freedom Forever. Now, this is one of my favorite books. It was written by Melissa Urban. It's not necessarily a Whole30 book. It's about life after Whole30, which is what I love to focus on. And you don't have to do a Whole30 to like love the book, and the concepts really help you evaluate your habits and relationship around food. I love this explanation from the book. Worth it just isn't about physical consequences. It's also about evaluating how a particular food affects your brain, your emotional attachment to other foods, your willpower, and your cravings. Some foods won't impact your energy, sleep, or digestion, but they'll leave you craving sugar or carbs like crazy. You may discover that other foods or drinks like alcohol are gateway foods, bringing to mind associations or past experiences that make you automatically reach for other less healthy foods. Some foods may impact you in both ways, like gluten, for example, if you're sensitive to it, can contribute to both digestion, distress, mental health conditions like depression, and even seasonal allergies, and affective disorder. So the emotional and psychological side effects of eating these potentially less healthy foods are just as significant as the physical consequences. So make sure you take them into account during your worth it evaluations. So that's like their definition, Melissa Urban's definition of worth it foods. For me, it's all about being intentional and pausing and asking yourself, is this worth it to me or not? So I'm going to give you 4 questions to ask yourself. These are questions that I kind of go through in my head before I eat something. And knowing some data about my body, this makes it a little bit easier, knowing how certain foods affect me physically and mentally, emotionally as well. But I thought I'd share these 4 questions with you and, of course, give you a habit loop on the other side as you are determining how to be intentional and thinking about what foods are worth it to you or not. Now, what I think is interesting about worth it foods, it could be one day it's worth it to you, another day, another experience, it could not be worth it to you. These 4 questions, though, will help you evaluate where you are and if it's worth it to you or not. So here's these 4 questions. First, just pause, slow down, and now let's ask question number 1. Is it seasonal or special, like it reminds you of somebody? Like if I was talking about my mom's mac and cheese, I love it so much. If I ate it every day, like I would be in the bathroom and like bloated and like my face would be all broke out. Gluten and dairy together don't agree with me, but that is absolutely worth it to me because it reminds me of my mom. She makes it with love, knowing that I love it. And I know I can eat it slowly and savor it without going to the max like crazy because I only have it like a few times a year because it's so special to me and I want to be in that moment. So for me, it is worth it. Number 2, will it lead to more not so healthy food choices for you after? Like I kind of mentioned in that worth it definition, sometimes alcohol does this, especially for me. Like if I'm drinking something, if I've had maybe a glass or 2, if I get to 3, it's over. I'm going to want some Taco Bell and like pizza. Oh my gosh. And I haven't had Taco Bell until like this past year when the Mexican pizzas came back and I just cannot like I used to. But sometimes there's certain foods that are gateway foods or drinks for that matter that can lead to other unhealthy patterns that don't leave you feeling so great. So maybe 1 glass of wine is worth it to me, but maybe not 2 glasses of wine, okay? Or what's that song? Give me 1 margarita. Okay, I won't get into it. If you know, you know. Number 3, how will it make you feel after? This is the 3rd question I want you to ask yourself. So how will it make you feel after? Is it going to make you feel sluggish? Even kind of noting how you feel after you eat is really something to note, right? If you eat something and it makes you feel bloated, that's maybe the culprit to make you feel that way. Or maybe you feel brain fog. Or speaking of wine, if I drink a little too much wine, my allergies go crazy. Like the histamine response is real for me with wine. And sometimes it's just not worth it to me. And then lastly, the last question I want you to ask yourself is, where are you at in your cycle? That's question number 4. I think we don't give ourselves enough credit. And this is that whole Atomic Habits for Women philosophy, right? We are built different. We have different hormones. We go through so much throughout our whole different cycle. I think it's important when you're determining if a food is worth it to you or not, is asking yourself, well, where am I at in my cycle? So you have higher progesterone during and after your period, right? And that can cause bigger appetites. Your mood might be you might be a little bit lower. You might be experiencing some emotional eating, which, by the way, emotional eating is okay sometimes, especially if you're being super intentional about it, right? So where are you at in your cycle? Be aware of that so you don't like shame yourself, and just note like, oh, this feels worth it to me right now because I'm in the middle of my cycle. I'm a little extra hungry. Great. I'm going to also reevaluate these other questions I asked of myself, but being aware of where you're at in your cycle, I think will allow you to have more of like, oh, okay, that's why I'm craving this right now. And I wouldn't have eaten it like 2 weeks ago. I'm like right there in the middle of my cycle. It's worth it to me right now. It's going to help me, it's going to really satisfy my sweet tooth, and that's okay. right? And when I talk about food freedom, I am not talking about restricting foods, friends. You just heard me say, like, if you have a sweet tooth and you want to eat something, then eat it. It's just a matter of being super intentional, stepping back and asking, is it worth it to you mentally, emotionally, physically, physiologically, all over your body? And just taking that data and moving on from it, not going one extreme or the other. So let's talk about a habit loop around worth it food. So remember, a habit loop is a cue, routine, reward. It's one of the steps, one of the biggest steps I teach inside of the habit hacking system I teach inside of our Accelerator program, which, by the way, is available as a pod course. So audio only, because girl, I know you're busy. You're going to take it on the go. And I'm getting ready to update it in January. So you can get it now and you can get all the updates in January making to it as well. So it's lifetime access to it. So a habit loop is a cue, routine, reward. So let's talk about a worth it habit loop. Your cue is you sit down to a meal. You sit down. Okay, girl, you're not standing at your countertop. You sit down to eat. The routine is take your time. Take your time. Be intentional with every bite. Set your fork down between bites. Savor the moment if it's worth it to you. Okay? Sit there and savor it and enjoy it if it's worth it to you. Now, if you sit down to your meal and you pause for a moment and you're like, I don't know if this is really worth it to me. I'm not going to feel so great on the other side. Then maybe just have one bite of that to see how it feels. If it's worth it to you, great. If it's not, you move on or you have something else to eat, right? The reward is how amazing do you feel? How empowered are you with your own eating? You're not overstuffed. You're enjoying the moment. You're eating a worth it food to you, or maybe you're not. And that is okay. So we habit hack this even more deeply, some higher level habit strategy inside of the Healthy Habits Accelerator pod course. You can go grab it anytime. It's in the show notes. We're in the middle of our mentorship right now. That will be launching again in February. It will only be available 3 times a year if you need some more one-on-one help. This is a group coaching experience I only offer 3 times a year. So in the meantime, grab the pod course. And remember, nothing magical is going to happen on January 1st, except maybe your motivation might be a little higher, but girl, we are training for life. So you might as well go start habit hacking your health now, and I am here for it, and I'm here to help you. All right, sending you a very big hug. Let me know if this worth it habit hack episode was worth listening to today, and I'll catch up with you next week. Hey girl, real quick before you go, did you know I have a secret podcast where I talk all about why most habit strategies don't work for us women? Spoiler alert, it's not our fault. Visit bit.ly/atomic habits for women. It's linked in the show notes to access my secret podcast series and have your biggest aha moment about why and how women have to do habits differently. And if you love the podcast, the number one way you can thank me is to leave a rating and review in iTunes. That way, more mamas can find the show. Love and appreciate you, friend. We'll see you next time.